Cape Town forever. Cape Town forever.
Today we have the privilege of chatting with a true Cape Town gem, Leroy Koopman, a dynamic gentleman who wears many hats in the fashion industry and is making big waves in Cape Town's fashion scene. Join us as we dive into his journey, exploring Leroy's innovative approach and the influence he's leaving on the city's fashion landscape. Today we're sitting with Leroy Koopman, who's a clothing stylist and an image consultant. And he's also a Cape Town legend, according to many. And after having many conversations with Leroy, it's been quite a journey. So I hope that our listeners and viewers will enjoy this interview. We're going to ask Leroy a bit more about himself and about his views. So, Leroy, tell us, what inspired you to pursue a career in fashion design?
Well, Costa, I grew up in a family of five, posterior home. So from my upbringing, I was groomed to men look a certain way and they act a certain way. But from a young stage in my life, I discovered that I'm not your average boy. My feelings were different. The way I saw clothing was different. The way I felt about clothing was different. So from in that frame that I found myself in at the age of 7, my mom was working as a seamstress for a bridal store. And I remember her bringing home these beautiful artworks of dresses and tutus, and her doing the hand beading and the sewing and the pearls onto these dresses. And when there was nobody at home, and my sister should have been watching me, but she was outside smoking with a friend. I would be getting into these dresses and almost like tempting myself to run to the gate in front of the house and back just to feel how it felt to be wearing these dresses. And I think that's really where my love for clothing, as we call it now, fashion, started. And it evolved as I grew older and as my sexuality became more apparent to me. And I used my garments and my clothing to navigate through that. And when I say navigate through that, I needed to be the boy that my father respected and loved. And I also needed to be truthful to who I am as a person and where I was heading to as a person. And it evolved, and it created skill sets within inside of me that I wasn't aware of at the time. But as I grew older and I grew on with my schooling, I found myself at the end of matric not knowing what I'm going to do next, or where am I going to go next, and what my career choices is going to look like. And at this point in my personal capacity, I was helping out at Timberland. My sister-in-law was the area manager at the time of Timberland, Cape Town, and I asked her if I could have a job. My mother was furious. My father said, "Oh no, it's going to make him more of a man." The independence thing. You know what's about men and independence. And I then asked and seeked out, and I loved it. I loved learning product knowledge. How does the shoes actually work? What does organic cotton mean? What does synthetic leather mean? What does waterproof mean? What is a waterproof garment? And this was through my whole process at Timberland for the year before I decided to go study. And it took me on a journey where I wanted to learn more and wanted to know what is this thing called clothing and how does it work. Because I've only had now experience of my personal experience navigating it through my adolescence and becoming a young man. And now I'm end of my schooling career or my formal schooling career, and I'm like, what do I do next? And I remember I went with a friend of mine to go and register at CPUT for a dental assisting. And as I was sitting there, I was paging through the applications, and there was one as a buyer and also fashion forecast. And I'm like, this is quite interesting. Took it, went home to my parents, asked them about it if they're keen. And my dad was like, the people that raise the dolls. And I'm like, not really that, but in the same industry, that's what it means, yes. And he wasn't too keen about it. My mom was like, you can do anything. Are you sure? This is very girly. Because she was operating in that fear mode. And I then decided, you know what, I'm going to do it for myself. I then started a new job at 777 Honeychild, and at the same time doing the course at CPUT, because I did actually go register, and also self-funded myself, meaning paid for myself. But I did it the first year. I did every Tuesday and Friday. So I will go to class on a Tuesday evening, and then I will write on a Friday, because I couldn't afford to be there like full time. And I enjoyed this process because I got to in real time see what I'm studying. But in my career I was doing really well. I found that I'm good at sales, because for me, anything, I need to understand what it is. How does it work? How does this thing benefit the next person? How does it make their lives better? But to bring this to a close, did all of that, went to go study. After that, worked a bit in the retail industry as a stylist and also as a buying assistant. And then fast forward, 3 years later, I get a call to say my bursary was accepted. And I'm like, my bursary? And I forgot that my matric year, I applied for a bursary at UCT. And I didn't know that, because I always said I wanted to study at UCT, but didn't think that academically that I wanted that, because I'm not that book smart person that's sitting behind books and just paging, even though love knowledge. And I was like, are you sure it's Leroy Koopman? And at this point, this lady's called Nariman. And I go for the interview, I'm successful, and this is all 2015, May. 2015, April. And my mom passes away the 21st of April. I get the call on the 30th of April to say that my application was successful, and then I started campus June of that year, which was also overwhelming. But even in that overwhelming state, I immediately identified that this is how I bring fashion, functionality, and turnaround together. Because if you know how something works, you know how to sell it. And amongst my skills that I discovered while in retail, it was the one element I did not have. How do I make this sustainable? How do I make this a business? How do I make what I have to say valuable? And because I only had fashion design as an undergrad, so it was quite interesting to me that I got a bursary for business school, because that was like the cherry on the cake. And I remember arriving the first day to business school and seeing all of this, and like these business students that have studied business already, so they've got quite huge undergrads, and I'm the only one in the class that has a fashion design undergrad. So it's like, oh, easy. And it took me a minute to settle in, and it took me a minute to adjust through clothing. What is the because in the same school, UCT Business School, you have your EMBA students, you have your MBA students, you have your info students, you have your courses that runs over 6 weeks. So it's a lot of CEOs and prominent people within society. But there's also a culture at business school. And the reason why I'm mentioning it, because submerging myself in that industry, I also realized how functional clothing is to business and working people. How clothing plays a role in how they set out their day. And while I was there, I came up with a concept that we will talk about later, that really was groundbreaking to me in my findings.
So, Leroy, you've told us about the challenges you faced in your personal life that shaped your identity and the experiences you went through. How, how did these challenges and the lessons you've learned from this help you shape the way you deal with the challenges in fashion and the way things pan out when it comes to whether you are in the game of Fashion Week or whether you are trying to solve a problem? How do you use these lessons?
So I think the common denominator in that entire question would be people. How do I work with people? And I can tell you from my history and my relationships that I have had and that I've been a part of for my entire life. And just being present with each of those relationships, learning about the individual, learning the character traits. That alone has helped me 80% beneficiary in my working capacity, because you're working with models, yes, and you're working with producers, yes, but they're also people. So people has a tell. There's certain people that you're going to come across that's going to remind you of certain people in your life, to put it plainly, that has certain character traits or personality traits that you have encountered already. So because you have encountered it already, you're not going to treat that person in a certain way because you know the effects of it. So you're going to handle it in the best way that you can anticipate what the result is going to be. Because when you are in that professional capacity, or when you are at the backstage and the show, the train has left the station and the show is being called, then you don't have the luxury of having a back and forth of trying to sort out something. You need to work your team in the best capacity that they are there for. And that is identifying, knowing their best skill sets, and that's identifying and knowing what is their strengths and their weaknesses. So you work them accordingly.
Do you think that clothing serves? We spoke about this before off camera, but that it's your armor. So your clothing, how does that, what you wear, and what you design, how does that help you navigate through challenges?
I think before we have where the world is now, we're at the stage where what we see is what we take away. And it's not more what you experience or learning or opening yourself up to what can be. But we have already made a judgment call on a picture that we have seen of a person, of an article we have read about the person, and not experiencing the person. And I think with clothing, and the reason why I called it an armor, clothing has the ability to motivate you and to elevate you, or it has the ability to make you feel isolated and discriminated against. By just choosing to wear what you feel. And when I say wear what we feel, as human beings, we tend to seek comfort when we're feeling discomfort. So the only thing in our control in that moment to do is clothing. If I have to go to work, even though I feel miserable today, I have to get dressed. But now come 12 o'clock and I am feeling so much better, and I've just landed an amazing deal, and I'm feeling full of life and it's vibrant outside. But I'm still wearing the same garments of what I wore when I was feeling in that dark space. So you will find that your surroundings will start reacting to it, because also we are energy on earth, right? Human beings, that's how we stay on earth and not floating in space. We are energy, so we're setting off energy. So what you set off is what you attract. And I think over time we are starting to see that more and more.
Leroy, what do you look forward to every year in the fashion industry, since it's such an evolving mechanism or organism?
Definitely, each and every year, Cape Town, which we call Menswear Fashion Week, which is the end of March each year. And the reason why I am always excited about it, our designers, especially our Cape Townian designers, always levels up. And I'm always proud to be able to form part of it and to be of helping assistance in any way. And I can confidently say that Cape Town Fashion Week or Menswear Week can really compete against our global scale designers, as our quality and our innovation when it comes to fashion has really updated. And people, like our designers, trust themselves more. And you can see it in the artwork, you can see it in the end result. And one of the greatest designers up to date that I have followed from conception to where he's heading to, and privileged to call him a friend, is Mkhize, which is the founder and CEO of Imprint, which is definitely one of South Africa's leading designers, and he started off here in Cape Town. So I'm quite excited about our local designers in that regard.
Okay, great stuff. So, Leroy, you told us about a concept you came upon or were working on during your time at business school. Tell us more about that because we're very inquisitive right now.
Okay, so the concept was called Simplicity, and it was based around a capsule cupboard of 25 items, which is all interchangeable from your belts to your socks. And it is based on 25 items that gives you 36 looks plus, where you leave the house completely styled and where you didn't even break a sweat by thinking, what do I wear right now? And this concept came about when I was playing with the idea around Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't get up in the morning thinking, how am I going to send a reusable rocket into space? Or how am I going to create and build and sustain an underground subway for cars? And get out of the shower and think, oh my word, what am I going to wear today? It breaks your thought process. And I think with Simplicity, it was based around to save that thought process of creating the most productive you from the moment you wake up. And clothing shouldn't distract or deter you from that. They should add value. And that's why most of our multi-millionaires and billionaires out there that is business orientated always have a simplistic cupboard where they will have navy, black, and blue shirts and white, and they will have blue jeans, and that will be it. And you will find whenever they have a public appearance, they're always wearing the same colors. When you see them out working, you always find them working the same colors because they do not want to break the thought process. So Simplicity is created around you, your lifestyle, and what it is that we are trying to do around you, for you, by you. So you're very much a part of the entire process as well as the recipient of the functioning process that happens afterwards. So I give you a cupboard up until 6 months, 5 months. Come back into your cupboard, we look at what works, what does not work, and then we take the things that you have now released and you have now shedded from your previous lives, and we look at it and how can we take that garment, either reconstruct it if it need be, or how can we give that garment in the good condition that it still is and invest in a young person's life. So if it's a lawyer that's the recipient of this cupboard, all of his old suits we will refresh or adjust to invest in a young man going for his first interview, which adds directly into the circular economy. How are we investing and growing our economy and also helping the underprivileged? So this is one way of doing it, with the end user not having to physically do anything other than look amazing leaving their home. Because remember, I'm already giving to the poor. I am making sure that you are customly fitted perfectly for your weight, for your illnesses, for your lifestyle, and for your job, whatever that may be. So that would be that concept.
So, Leroy, that simplicity concept of yours was really interesting. I mean, I might take you up on that offer myself. But for those out there that really want to hear more about it and maybe get your help on it, how would they access that information? How would they get hold of you?
Okay, so they can get me on my Instagram page at Leroy Koopman, or they can go straight to our Simplicity platform, which is called House of Lador, at House of Lador on Instagram.
Excellent. Speaking of social media, how has that played a role in fashion overall?
So social media is kind of it's a bittersweet. Let me put it like that. It's because social media has created platforms for more individuals to display their artistic views on garments and clothing and fashion as well as sustainability, but it has also created a temporary view on what fashion is. So the idea of fashion of where it is now because of social media, it's here today and gone tomorrow. But fashion is not that. Fashion is a tool to navigate and help you navigate through this thing that we call life. Coming back again to we can't control what our days is going to look like or a situation might look like. You can only control what's in your capacity to do, and that is to govern how you look and how well you are prepared in your appearance to achieve or navigate through anything that you might be having to go through. Whether that is in a work capacity, when that is showing up to a wedding, when it is having to attend a funeral. A personal story would be from me and my mom's funeral. I think I fell apart on the inside, but I'm the baby of 5, so there isn't that much space for you to have a meltdown when the entire family is melting down around you. You just have to step in as that calm and collective person. But clothing and my garment and my uniform definitely helped me navigate through that seamlessly. But also, I felt protected because I think most of anything, you feel wounded when you feel loss, and you just want to fill that or make that wound feel better or not there. And there's nothing physically we can do of it when we feel loss. And loss is loss, whether you're losing a dog, when you're losing a parent, when you're losing a loss is loss. You can't put a value to
Exactly.
somebody's loss.
It's grief.
But the one advice that I can give is that helps navigate through that period is what you wear, what you put on your body,
Your armor.
your armor.
Awesome. So, Leroy, you grew up in Cape Town,
Yeah.
and you are passionate about the local industry and local fashion. And you're, from what I've come across, is that you want people to invest more in Cape Town and South Africa's fashion.
Yeah.
How would people be able to do that? How, if you could write a book about how to support South African fashion industry, what would be the headlines?
Growing your pocket. Because I think the most important part is to tell the end user how they are benefiting and how they create sustainability within their lives. Because the stronger the rand, the more value you hold within your pocket. Then everything you are working hard for to be able to wear, to buy and purchase that second-hand Gucci, that second-hand Louis, is then stronger, so you can actually get more for your value. So at the end of the day, you're not just doing a courtesy to the designer that sweat and tears went into that creation, but you investing in yourself. Yeah, that would be my answer to that.
Great stuff.
That would be the title of the book. Great stuff.
Leroy, are there any specific cultural or historical influences that frequently appear in your work or inspire you, or that you really want to express to the world?
For me, it's always about the person. Whether I am doing whether I'm busy with a celebrity, when I'm busy with a housewife, whether I'm busy with a CEO of a company. For me, it's always important. And the reason why I'm putting this in a religiously segment or in the same bracket is because we celebrate ourselves religiously. And for me, it's about the person. Yes, we've got all of this clothes and we've got the makeup and we've got the jewelry, but can you see the person? And for me, the person is important. And that's not to just to add on that point, on a side note, to make you understand what I mean by saying about the person. When a stylist does a makeover, the recipient comes, you dress them, make up them, style them perfectly, take a picture, there we go, makeover done. That person leaves. What happens afterwards? Where's the sustainability? Where's the sustainability of the look? Where's the sustainability of the feel? You made her feel amazing for that day or for that hour. But how do we help her carry that feeling every day? There's nothing that says you can't feel great every day, that you can't look your best every day. Why must you look terrible to look great and surprise yourself? Why can't there be consistency? Is it not proven when you look great, you do great because you feel great? So for me, I would say religiously, it's about the human that I'm displaying and the human that I'm bringing out. And it's also what your perception is of what excellence looks like. And that's why it's important to have a conversation with the client. So that would differ based on the client.
There you go. That's right. It's more case to case, person to person.
Yeah.
Every soul is different,
Yeah.
and you're trying to communicate what that soul is saying.
Yeah. And trying your best to bring out the image that the individual has had of themselves for quite a bit. And for me, the endorphin is not the pay point. The endorphin for me is when I get to create joy. I get to bring about joy in somebody's life. When they see, whenever I always get excited when I do the fitting and they fit the clothes on and that excitement and that, because also joy is a commodity that you can't put a price tag to, because happiness is after sadness or after disappointment, after angry. There's always an opposite to happy. But joy comes from a place of understanding. Joy comes from a place of there is nothing like this feeling. So to bring that across with an item or a clothes or a look is what fills my heart. And I think that is the biggest thing for me of wanting to see at the end of a work day.
That's awesome, man. So I'm sure it also brings you joy to be inspiring others. If you could give advice to aspiring fashion designers and anyone who wants to enter the fashion industry or break into it, what would be your 5-step, whether it's 5 or 3 steps? What would be the steps you advise them to do right now?
First, have a conversation with yourself. Learn to love all aspects of yourself, because if there's one thing that the fashion industry teaches you and tests you on, it's your self-worth. And if you do not have any self-worth, you will be easily sold and you will be easily disregarded. But if you know who you are, then you know what you want and you know what you don't want. And just making decisions based on that will create sustainability, and it will also create value with who you are and add the existing value that is you. Because you can only be what you possess and you can only give what you have. Yeah, so that's that question.
That was awesome, dude. That is a thought that I've had for the last 10 years. Like, you got to take stock of yourself
Yeah.
before you even start anything. Because if you don't know who you or what your self-worth is, then
If you must go for a brain surgery now, and the surgeon walks in here, and the surgeon says, okay, so we need to do a surgery, it's going to be like 50-50, but I don't know, I'm so nervous.
Yes.
Or like, I don't know, I think so. Or like, compare that to the surgeon that's walking out of that room, coming to speak to me, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a 90% chance of failure.
Yeah.
There's 10% chance of success, and I'm confident that I'm able to do that successfully. Are you going to choose the 50-50 that couldn't even make up his mind of who he was talking to or what he was saying, or confident in himself because he was nervous?
Yeah.
Your surgeon, your brain surgeon, has just told you he's nervous.
Confidence, dude. But that's where the confidence stems from, self-worth. Leroy, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us on Cape Town Forever. You definitely are one of the gems of Cape Town, making things go pop, and it was very spiritual speaking to you. We've learned a lot. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in the future, and hope to see you around the runways, and wishing you a lot of success, and hope to see you soon, maybe on a nice big podcast one day.
Oh, that would be stunning. That would be stunning. Costa, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I would definitely be keen to do a podcast with you. Thank you for an amazing afternoon with you and your team, and hope to converse more on a regular basis.
Amazing. Thanks, man.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Cape Town forever. Cape Town forever.